Partnered by Times Influence.
The United States of America, the land of infinite possibilities and opportunities. Many Indians yearn to make their way there, to immigrate there so that they can build their careers, make their fortunes, and also get a better life for themselves and their families. But of late, the tightening visa norms have made this dream, well, not so easy to achieve. Hello and welcome to the special show on ET Now called EB5 BRICS and Fakhuri Global Immigration present EB5 Visa Program, All You Wanted to Know, where I'm joined by three eminent experts who will talk to us, well, about EB5 Visa Program and help solve any of your queries that you might have. Allow me to introduce them. First up, we have Rohit Tharkar. He's the partner with Fakhuri Global Immigration. Welcome to the show, Rohit.
Thank you.
Then we have Jahanvi Narula. She's the Director Client Relations at EB5 BRICS. Hi Jahanvi, welcome to the show. And finally, Vivek Tandon, he's the CEO at EB5 BRICS and also the Managing Director at NMS Capital Advisors. Welcome to the show, Vivek.
Thanks, pleasure to be here.
All right, super. So Rohit, I'll first start off with you. EB5, now what is this exactly? What kind of visa is this for America?
So EB5, we'll keep it simple. Simply extended, the name means employment-based fifth preference category.
Okay.
It's a visa probably getting very popular now in India and in many other parts of the world. It allows you to immigrate to the United States based on an investment. It's not a write the check and give me a green card story. It is you've got to give them the money which is then used to create jobs and then you get a green card. So it's an economic opportunity, it's a job creation visa. A lot of people think about it and say, including Congress officers in the US would say, oh, we're selling our green card. And that's really not true because every investor is creating a minimum of 10 jobs from their $500,000 investment and then getting a green card. And sure, that leads to a US citizenship eventually, if that's what you want. But that's what gives you a green card. It is probably the fastest, well, certainly the second fastest way, because the only faster way for you to get a green card is if somebody is either born in the United States or marries a US citizen. And when I say marries, I mean a real marriage. Just want to clarify, this is not a Hollywood, Bollywood movie where you get married for a green card. So that's what it is in its simplest form.
Okay, fantastic. Jahanvi, but you know, why are we hearing so much about EB5 now? I mean, why are people coming to you to talk to you about this visa?
It has gained popularity, I think, very recently in India, and the other visa categories like H1s, L1s. Since people are struggling with that, EB5 seems to be the easiest route. I think right now it's the fast track way to get the green cards, and it's essentially taking about 16 to 18 months under this visa category for people to get.
Okay, interesting. Vivek, Jahanvi mentioned regional center programs. What are those? Could you shed some light on that?
So a regional center is basically a private economic entity that acts as an intermediary between EB5 investors that are looking to get a green card and generally developers that are looking for capital to build something. Okay.
My concern is that, you know, if there is somebody who wants to invest the money in there, $500,000 US, I believe, is the amount.
Correct.
How do they go about? Is it the right way to go through the regional center, or how do you connect that person to a valid person in America?
Sure, absolutely. So there's two ways to make an EB5 investment. One is sort of a do-it-yourself approach. That's what they call a direct EB5, where you're responsible for identifying a business opportunity. You deploy $500,000 or $1 million into that business opportunity, and then you're responsible for creating 10 full-time jobs for US workers. Now, about 5% of applicants fall into that direct EB5 investment area. About 95% of applicants do a regional center EB5 because it's more of an outsourced approach.
Okay.
You identify a regional center that is sponsoring a project. The project uses your money to create jobs, and on that basis, you get a conditional green card initially.
Okay, interesting. Rohit, coming back to you on the norms. So, what are the legalities that I need to keep in mind if I do want to go for the EB5?
Lots of legalities, actually, and so it's complicated. You need a qualified professional to help you. When I
Right.
say that, whether it's as an EB-5 investment advisor who's giving you advice on the financial side, or an immigration attorney who's helping you with the immigration aspects, you need to be able to make sure that the regional center projects, and I'm talking about those because, like Vivek said, there are two different ways of doing it. One, either a direct investment through a do-it-yourself, where you're typically investing at least a minimum of $1 million,
Right.
or in the regional center where you're investing pretty much a minimum and a maximum of only $500,000.
Okay, all right.
And if you wanted, we can explore why the direct is possibly even more than $1 million. So you need to find a project where you're going to invest your monies, which is going to create the jobs, which is going to get you a conditional green card first, then going to process you for a permanent green card.
Right.
And the ultimate success is when you get your money back, because it's not a charitable contribution.
Right, right.
It's typically money that you're expecting or hoping to get back, although the law requires that the investment is at risk and it's not guaranteed. But by working with qualified professionals, especially like somebody like Vivek who can give you proper financial guidance and advice,
Right.
you can minimize the risk. You cannot eliminate it. And that's what I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand, that you can't guarantee it,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't eliminate it, but you can minimize it.
Of course.
So you do need to look at all those different aspects when you're going through the legal process. And then, of course, the immigration process, which requires you to review the project to make sure that the requirements of the immigration law, which essentially are twofold in their simplest form. One is the job creation, and two is maintaining the money at risk, which means it's got to be a business venture. So it's pretty much similar to
Okay.
any other business venture.
And it's a great idea for the entrepreneurs that India has, because I mean India is famous for its entrepreneurship, so it's a great way
Sure.
to build a business in there, in a way to say. Jahanvi, I want to come to you on the EB5 application process. Say I come up to you tomorrow and say, Jahanvi, I do want to invest, I want to get to America with the EB5. What's your advice to me? How do I go step by step?
I think first we need to explore the possibility of you being able to do an EB5. You need $500,000. I think a very crucial part where the team is going to help you, where I'm obviously going to help, is connect them and help you figure out the money that you're using for EB5 purposes. I think it's very crucial to have the right funds, and you need to work with the team on the source of funds
Right.
here.
Do you kind of look at the profile of the person that's coming? So do I have to have like a good background of having done businesses here or stuff like that?
In terms of investor suitability, I
Yeah.
think that's what you're talking
Right,
about. I
right.
mean, that is something we have to take into consideration. Generally, to make an EB5 investment, you should ideally be what they call an accredited investor,
Right.
which means you should have a net worth of $1 million US dollars. The logic behind that is, we don't want investors that have, sort of their last $500,000 to their name. As Rohit mentioned, this is an at-risk investment. I mean, sure, with the proper due diligence, it doesn't have to be a risky investment. But
Yes.
if all you have is $500,000 or a little bit more than that, then that's not the kind of investment you want to be making, because this money is going to be blocked for the next 6 years at the very minimum. There's little or no interest being paid on this investment. The primary reason why people make an EB5 investment is to get a green card. It's not there to earn you some sort of a return.
Of
It's going to
course.
get you a green card.
Right, of course. And so, Vivek, what are some of the sectors that you're seeing a lot of investment coming to America under the EB5 program?
Generally it's been in the construction, real estate industry in the US, and the reason for that is twofold. One is, because it's going to be used for construction purposes, there's a lot of job creation that happens in the construction industry.
Yes, of
So
course.
job creation is much easier with your $500,000 if it goes into building, let's say, a Marriott hotel in New York City or a commercial office tower in New York City or something along those lines. Secondly, obviously we want to minimize the investment risk, meaning the risk of not getting your money back.
Yes.
So how do we minimize that? Well, we cannot eliminate that risk. It is an at-risk investment, but these investments can be secured. And generally, these investments can be well secured against collateral. Collateral being, that hotel building or that office building, or some sort of an infrastructure project where there's multiple investors, where there's a bank involved, where the developer is putting a lot of equity. So those are the generally the most dominant areas where EB5 investments go. I see a lot of new ventures being funded with EB5, but those are what I call sort of untried and untested players in the EB5 industry, and those results are yet to be seen.
Let's be the devil's advocate here, Rohit, all right? So America, like I started with saying, the land of infinite opportunities and possibilities. A lot of people over decades have moved there, been wanting to move there. Visa restrictions are tightening, especially with President Donald Trump, when we hear about the wall across the border with Mexico coming up and this and that. Is there realistically room for Indians there to get there? And because like H1B visas are also, the numbers are being reducing. So I mean, I'm coming from being skeptical, like really, is this really true? Is this just another, I don't know, something unbelievable?
It's all true. You can continue to go to the United States and fulfill your dreams, for sure. You do have some restrictions.
Right.
The wall is referring to the illegal immigration. So
Right.
Trump is not against legal immigration. We're not discussing my political perspective on Trump. We're just talking about immigration. And
Right, of
Congress has
course.
a lot to do with that. It's not just Trump. It's a result of the present restrictions may be a result of many years of evolving attitudes and evolving approaches. Yes, there are lots of restrictions on the H1 at the present time,
Yes,
but there are
yes.
many other reasons for that. The EB5, I think, will continue to prosper so far as India is concerned, because I think India is one of the dominant players in the fastest growing number
Yeah.
of millionaires
Right.
today. It's the fastest way to get a visa. It is to get a permanent visa, meaning a green card. So it's helping students, it's helping H1B folks. So clearly that path is still open, and the president himself and his family are using EB5
Right.
and putting it to good use. Like Vivek said, it's usually used in the construction industry, and that's where it's continuing to be used.
Jahanvi, can you share some numbers? I mean, what are the kind of numbers of Indians who are applying, who are getting through, going across over the last couple of years?
Sure. I think since last 4 years, when EB5 had really picked up, India was doing less than 40 in number. We've seen growth every year. I think year 2015 was less than 100. 16 we saw the number close to 250, and I think right now the number is close to 500 or 600 visas.
Okay.
And every year, every country has about a 7% quota. So there's 10,000 visas issued every year for EB5 purposes. And India is, I think, very soon going to hit that number. So
So what
yeah.
happens after we hit that number then? Do
I
we
think
stop or
once
do-
we hit that number, India is also going to hit what we call is retrogression.
Yeah.
So right now, as we know that it is taking about 16 to 18 months for this visa to get you the green cards, it may take longer than once India hits retrogression. It may take longer than that.
Okay, I'll ask you guys to hold on to that thought. It's time for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. A lot more information, a lot of more interesting discussions will continue on the show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to EB5 BRICS and Fakhuri Global Immigration present EB5 visa program. All you wanted to know, I'm in discussion with Rohit Turkud, Jahanvi Narula and Vivek Tandon about EB5 visa and how it's quite applicable to Indians. Rohit, before the break, I was just chatting with Jahanvi. Just wanted your thoughts on that, about the number of the visas that are applicable, that are available for Indians.
Yeah, so like Jahanvi said, you've got 700 visas, no more than 700 available for any one country, which
Right.
obviously includes India as well.
Right.
And like she also accurately said, the numbers for India have been increasing. So it's possible, and the US State Department for the first time about a couple of months ago announced that that India would retrogress, meaning you would have a greater number of applicants than the supply. So your
Right.
demand is going to outstrip the supply. And when we refer to visas, what a lot of people don't understand in terms, and that's fair,
Yeah.
is it's not the number of applications that counts, it's the number of visas that are issued that counts.
All right.
So it could be one applicant, because the application allows for only one individual, but that individual may have a family of 4. Because the qualifying applicants or the qualifying beneficiaries are the investor, the investor's spouse, and the unmarried children under the age of 21.
Okay.
So it could be a family of 2, it could be a family of 4, it could be a family of 5, it could be either one.
Right.
And that's the number of visa count. It's not the
Okay.
number of applications. So the first time they're expecting that India may hit retrogression will be June 2019.
Okay.
And then we'll have to see how long it takes. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's important that people who are seriously considering the EB5 should proceed with it quickly.
Vivek, in your experience, when the Indian investors do come to you
Right.
for the EB5 visa, what are their first inhibitions, or what are they most worried about, and how do you address those issues that they have?
Sure. So, there's only 2 goals that most people are chasing, one being the green card and 2 being the return of capital.
Okay.
So they do want safety and security of capital. And, from our perspective, if you do regional center due diligence, project due diligence, and immigration due diligence, that safety and security can be achieved. So those inhibitions that they have in terms of safety and security, they can definitely be addressed just by doing proper due diligence, by engaging the right professionals, perhaps a legal professional, a financial professional. And there's no replacement for sort of doing your own homework. Go to the US if you have a visa, visit the project site, meet with the regional center, get comfortable with the concept of investing $500,000 for the next 6 years in a project that is going to be creating jobs on your behalf.
Right, of course. Jahanvi, when you, what's the feedback from India that you're getting? By, what I mean by that is there more interest from metros like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore? What's the kind of people that are coming to you?
Yeah, I think the metro cities definitely. We've seen a lot of interest here, but also tier 2 cities are now behind.
Because my sense is, how do you, and this is open to all 3 of you, the idea is that even 1, 2, 5 people that might have a bad experience are the ones that might be dissatisfied. People might assume that that's the same for everybody, but it's not. There are always, unfortunately, there are cases where there are some unfortunate experiences that people have. How do you tackle that, and how do you help that and get the mindset correct? So anybody who wants to take that question.
Sure, and I can start off
Yeah.
with that. I think, again, coming back to the idea of due diligence, you need to be doing your due diligence. You need to engage, because there are over 1,000 regional centers. There are over
Right.
600 projects. It's obviously humanly and logistically impossible to vet all of them and to figure them out. So if you're working with a qualified professional such as Vivek, because of the
Right.
SEC and the FINRA licenses, they will have done a lot of the homework for you.
Of course.
Then you're checking out, and it's easy to check out whether Vivek has any violations, whether SEC is around. You can check on my license and see whether there have been any bar association complaints. That provision or that opportunity is very readily and easily available.
Vivek, when talking about the money, so like Jahanvi was saying, it's about 16 to 18 months till you get the project moving and you get the provisional green card. The money, the $500,000, when does that come in? I just wanted to
Sure.
understand.
So how the process starts how the process starts is generally they'll start with engaging an immigration lawyer,
Yes.
and at the same time, working with somebody like me on selecting a project.
Right.
Now that process can take about 30 to 45 days. Once they've gone through that process, they actually make the investment.
Right.
That means they have to wire the funds, wherever the funds may be, whether it's in India or outside of India, to the regional centers, what they call an escrow account.
Right.
And once that is done, then certain documentation goes to the immigration lawyer that enables them to file the application. Now, once they file the application, on average, it takes about 16 to 18 months. Those processing times are getting longer. In fact, they're getting closer to the 24-month mark now.
Okay.
And once they get that initial approval, then they're going to have an interview at the consulate here in Mumbai, or let's say at the embassy in Delhi, where they're issued the EB-5 visa. After that visa is issued, they travel to the US and they're processed for the green card at the port of entry.
Okay.
So I would actually say, plan for about 2.5 years. If it happens earlier than that, then that's a bonus.
Lovely, great. Rohit, one other concern that people might have is the changing laws, maybe, or how do you know that these legislation or these requirements for EB5 would last? Because let's say we start working today, like Vivek said, let's assume 2.5 years. I think the American presidential election will also hit somewhere in the middle of that. Will the laws change? Would my application be stuck in the middle there?
Well,
That's a
I think this
concern.
ties back to one of the things that we were discussing earlier as to why do it now as opposed to waiting for 3 months.
Right.
Because at the present time, the law still allows you to invest the minimum $500,000 until September 30th.
Okay.
Nobody knows what's going to happen after September 30th so far as the money's issue is concerned. It may remain the same. It may go up to $850,000. It may go up to $925,000. It could go
Okay.
up to $1.35 million. Those are the three figures that have been thrown about with some level of validity. So there is a certain level of hurry to do it, because I always tell people that, listen, even if you have the money, it's going to bother me if you've paid more than $500,000 because you're getting the same green card, same shape, same size, same color, same benefits, and you've just ended up paying like maybe 3 times the amount of money.
Right,
So
of
there is
course.
a certain level of urgency. They are likely to change other rules and regulations, but in my personal opinion, those are going to be good because they're meant to protect the investor from certain bad actors or bad acts that have resulted. So we as a firm, and I as the partner of the firm, will only represent the investors. So although Vivek and I work so closely together, I've been doing it for the last 4 years, I don't represent Vivek, I don't
Right.
represent the project, I only represent the investor's interests. So well,
that's
that's an
reassuring.
important consideration when the investors are deciding on selecting their attorney.
Right.
It's a good idea for them to even flat out ask that, do you represent me and the regional center, or do you
Right.
represent just me and my family?
Of course, yes. To be clear on that as well.
Absolutely.
That's most important. Coming back to EB5, are they restricted to the big cities or to the smaller towns or any specific state, or it can be anywhere across the country?
So it can be anywhere in the US. So the rule is that the standard investment amount is 1 million. It is lowered to $500,000 if your investment goes into a rural area, or if it's an urban area, say like LA or New York City or San Francisco. So long as that particular area where the project is located is what they call a targeted employment area, then the investment amount is lowered to $500,000.
Okay.
Now, targeted employment area is basically where unemployment rate is 1.5 times of the national average.
Okay. Well, we're just about running out of time, so I'd like to come to everybody for closing comments. Vivek, if we'll start with you and then move down the line. Just your final thoughts on EB5 for our viewers.
Sure, absolutely. So, you know, we've been in the EB5 industry for over 4 years now. India is a young market for EB5. And what I've come to realize is there is a lot of misinformation in the market. So I always tell people, just do your homework, deal with the right professionals, people who are licensed, regulated, and you'll be in good hands, and I think you'll be fine. Where people end up in trouble is when they sort of try to cut corners themselves, or they're working with people who are cutting corners as well.
Right.
So just play by the book, and I think things will turn out perfectly fine.
Fantastic. Jahanvi, your last comments.
I mean, I think while the deadline is very much there, September 30th as, so I think, yes, there is a bit of an urgency. I think for the people who are looking at the program and wanting to file this, they should really consider doing it right now, with the factors that the investment amount may go up, India may hit retrogression next year, and then this deadline. So all these factors all together very much, you know, I think there is a bit of urgency, and they should file this EB5 if they're looking at it now.
Rohit, your final comment.
It's a good program. It's a beneficial program for all Indians. It helps families. It can eventually help the parents as well if they're looking to migrate. I often end up meeting clients who are parents who are giving the money as a gift, and I tell them, well, the green card is for your kids, it's not for you. So that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
Do your due diligence, do your homework. It's a good program, it's well used, and it can be used further in a proper way, as long as you're working with proper professionals. At the end of the day, make sure you trust the professionals you're going to work with.
Thank you so much, Rohit. Thank you so much, Jahanvi. And thank you so much, Vivek, for talking to us. Thank you so much for watching. If you need any more information or you want to reach out to our panelists, feel free to visit the websites, which are employmentimmigration.com and also EB5 BRICS.com. And we hope we've been able to give you all the information that you require for your EB5 visa in case you're interested. And if you are doing it, please do your due diligence properly, because it's really important to use the right way to get to America if that's something that you're looking for. Thank you so much for watching.